Hey guys, Chris here, and I just want to talk about experiencing trauma and living with it. So first, let's define trauma. And trauma is a damaging response to the mind after a stressful event or situation, which exceeds our ability to cope, and it occurs when we are overly stressed. Now, there are three types of trauma, and the first is what we call an acute trauma, which happens when there's one stressful event. So, for example, sexual assault. The second is chronic trauma, which is repeated and prolonged stressful event, which, for example, is bullying. And a third is called complex trauma, which is basically multiple distressful events happening at the same time. So moving on, I want to talk kind of about my experience with trauma. So I've experienced multiple distressful events throughout the years in my life, such as breakups, rejections. I'm a child of parental divorce. So I've had a lot of various distressful events that have, caused me both, acute and chronic trauma. And of course, that's what we call the complex trauma, right? I have what you call situational depression, or otherwise known as reactive depression. And it's basically depression that occurs after you've experienced some kind of situation that is stressing you out. It's basically short-term, and it is caused by stress. And however, it does occur very frequently, and it does occur frequently in my life. Even though it is short-term and doesn't it's not prolonged and doesn't last very long. And this stress includes, but is not limited to, situational changes. So, for example, moving, which I recently did, not under the best circumstances, and not on my terms, and it's something that is still on my mind, after being fresh for about 2-3 months, to social issues with others, right? The interactions I have with people, and when someone says we need to talk, and that makes me very anxious, and I'm sure it makes others very anxious because that's something we don't want to talk about. To negative financial issues, and right now we're going through a hard time. I'm sure and everybody is having financial issues, but those are things that are stressing me out, as well as things like work and school, and that contributes to kind of that stress and that situational depression. And I'm at high risk for it, and for those who want to know why you're at high risk for it, is if you experience trauma early on in life. And like I said, I've experienced multiple distressful events, and having that complex trauma. So it is, very highly likely why I have this situational depression. And of course, I actually have a very good memory, probably close to eidetic memory, in the fact that I remember everything. So I remember dates, times, and places of all these distressful events like it was yesterday. It's not very fun, and I live with it every single day from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. And this is why I have trouble sleeping at night a lot of times. I have insomnia. I can't sleep because my mind is constantly thinking and living through these moments, reminding me about them. And sometimes, I will go to sleep and wake up crying for no reason. And then part of that crying is because of, these flashbacks, these events that are going through my head, that I can't really control. And sometimes it makes me feel helpless. And, sometimes I also have a lack of enthusiasm for regular activities when, my memory and my mind kind of remind me of these things. I lack the enthusiasm to sometimes game, which I love gaming. And all I just want to do is sleep. I just want to just not wake up, basically. Not have to feel this pain and kind of suffering from these kind of experiences that I've went through. Also, these memories make me feel worthless. Throughout my life, I've always been compared to other people, and feel that I don't have some kind of purpose or lack of. which is why I'm always have to be productive to the point of even stressing myself out, right? And it repeats that cycle, and it's unhealthy. Um, but it's something that I'm trying to get better at and live with. And so we get to the coping part. Like, how exactly do I cope with this trauma, right? How exactly do I live with, something like this each day? And so many years ago, when I was a little bit younger, I had there's unhealthy and healthy coping. So my unhealthy coping was I have a history of self-harm. So that is, I used to cut myself, and the reason why is because I wanted to ask myself is, do I feel this pain? You know, is it something that I deserve? And all at the same time, it's also kind of a release on the body and the mind. After you do it, you feel kind of less stressed, and your body kind of relaxes a little bit. I do not recommend this or suggest this to anybody. It is unhealthy by all means, and I am past that. I hope that those out there do not do this if you're suffering from any type of trauma or any type of depression or any type of distressful events. This is not, the way to go. And I understand why you're doing it. I've been there, right? And if you ever feel like you're in this kind of scenario, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll talk you through, and we'll find other ways for you to cope. And that brings me to my second point, healthy coping. How do I cope in a healthy way? So after I was done kind of with this unhealthy coping mechanism, I looked to running and working out. It was a way to stay focused, a way to work on something else, some another part of my life that I could progress on and be proud of, right? And honestly, I am very proud of this, because when I run or when I work out, and I compete in races for charity or whatnot, it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I did something, that all those negative experiences back then, they don't matter, because, they've made me who I am now. And the second thing, and I believe that this is probably the number one feel-good thing, is community service. It doesn't matter what kind of mental illness or disorder or distress that you're going through. No, community service is, does not, it's not just limited to one person or one group. It really makes us feel like we're doing something with our lives. And actually, it's what helped me turn my life kind of 180, when I was going through my trauma and my stressful events, because, I met other people who were similar to me, and we all came together doing something for each other. And I think, humans, we like to help each other, right? We want to be there for each other. We want to see each other succeed. When we're going through things, we try to uplift each other, right? No one wants to see each other suffer. No one wants to see someone in pain. It's just something that we don't like spreading, right? Even though our minds, focus on the negatives, right? Collectively, we don't want to, spread that. We want to feel that positivity, to share that joy. And so that's kind of how I've experienced trauma and lived with it. I didn't go too much into detail about specific events. If it's something that you want to hear me speak about, you could privately message me. But I just wanted to kind of talk about, and generally speaking, what I have to live with and what I've gone through. And I hope that you learned a little bit something about this topic, and maybe learn something about me and how, maybe you're similar to me, and it might help you out. But thank you guys very much for listening to me speak.